Hello, crew. Welcome to our social studies lesson. Today we are in our American Revolution 1 packet, and we are doing brief 3, the colonies move closer to war. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this brief for you guys, and then at the end we will discuss our assignment. The colonies move closer to war. For several years, the colonists had been protesting British taxes. In 1768, Britain sent troops and warships to Boston to try to scare the colonists into paying these taxes. Boston became a very tense place. The colonists and the British soldiers often had brawls with each other. The Boston Massacre. On March 7, 1770, a mob of angry colonists surrounded some British soldiers. The soldiers panicked and shot into the crowd of people. They killed 5 colonists. This event is called the Boston Massacre. The British soldiers went on trial for murder. They were defended by a colonist and a lawyer named John Adams. Even though Adams was against the British taxes, he believed that the soldiers should have a fair trial. The soldiers were found not guilty. The Tea Act. The East India Company was a British business that exported tea to the colonies. In 1773, it was having a lot of trouble making money. It had a surplus of about 17 million pounds of tea. In business, a surplus is how much you have of something that still needs to be sold. The British Parliament wanted to help the East India Tea Company. The more money the company made, the more tax money the Parliament could collect from them. In 1773, the Parliament passed a law called the Tea Act. This act said that the only company allowed to sell tea to the colonies would be the East India Company. Boston Tea Party. The Tea Act made the colonists very angry. They didn't want to be told from whom they could or couldn't buy tea. On December 16, 1773, a group of colonists sneaked aboard the East India Company ships in Boston Harbor. They were members of the Sons of Liberty. They were dressed up like Mohawk Indians. They threw 342 chests of tea into Boston Harbor. This incident is called the Boston Tea Party. Okay, we turned over to page 82. The Intolerable Acts. Great Britain was furious at the colonists for destroying the tea. They imposed more restrictions on the colonies to punish them for what they had done. These restrictions were the following. More British soldiers were sent to Boston. The colonists were forced to feed the soldiers and let them stay in their houses. Thomas Gage, a British general, was sent to govern Massachusetts. No ships were allowed to enter or leave the port of Boston until the colonists paid for the tea they threw overboard. The colonists called these new rules the Intolerable Acts. If something is intolerable, it means it is not acceptable. The Committee of Correspondence. The Committee of Correspondence was a group created in 1772. It was founded by Samuel Adams. There were 80 of these groups that were formed in all 13 colonies. Members of the groups wrote letters to each other to tell what was going on where they lived. The letters were delivered by men who rode fast horses. These people were called express riders. It took about a week for an express rider to make a return trip from Boston to New York. The First Continental Congress. The colonists decided to protest the Intolerable Acts. Through the Committee of Correspondence, they talked about having an important meeting between all of the colonies. In September of 1774, 12 colonial leaders met in Philadelphia. This meeting was called the First Continental Congress. It included George Washington, Patrick Henry, John Adams, and Samuel Adams. Several important things were decided at this meeting, including there would be no trade with Britain until the Intolerable Acts were repealed. Each colony would create a militia or a volunteer army. But King George III was a very stubborn man. No matter what the colonists did, he refused to give in to their demands. They pushed the colonists and the British closer and closer to war. All right, so for your assignment today, you have one of these in your bag, the American Times. I would like you to write a news article about the Boston Tea Party. I want you to write it as if you were there witnessing the Boston Tea Party. It needs to be at least a paragraph long, so it needs to be at least 4 to 5 sentences. Let me know if you have any questions.